Yo, guys, what is going on? My name is Tyler. I am part of the FF Mediators here on the Fantasy Face-Off Sports Network. We made it through week one. Obviously, we had a few casualties in the tight end world that we're going to talk about here today. I'm back for week two of rankings and streamers at the position. We'll talk about those injuries kind of as we go through the tiers here, but just glad to say, we still have fantasy football this week. So let's get right into it. I'm going to pop up a graphic here just of my first few tiers. We'll break it down into tiers as we go, and then we'll talk about each one individually. So first off, we're going to have my rankings pop up here. You'll see in my tier one, I have both Trey McBride as well as Brock Bowers. Obviously, we're missing one big name here, and that is George Kittle. He did get placed on IR with a hamstring injury. He came out. He immediately put a hat on, never went back in the game. So sucks to see that high end tight end production kind of falling off here early in the year, but we will see how it goes. But let's deal with the guys that are still here. Um, that's going to be both Trey McBride, who I have at one this week, and then Brock Bowers, who had a little bit of injury on his own there with his knee, but he says he's good to go. That the training staff was actually who opted to hold him out of the game for the rest of the game. But let's break down the numbers. Let's look at it. So in week one, we had Trey McBride, 9 targets, 6 receptions, 61 yards. And guys, that is a 31% target share for this Cardinals offense. If you want to look at comparables, obviously you've got Marvin Harrison Jr. there, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 71 yards. He did come away with a touchdown this week. So, their production fantasy wise is probably very similar, but at the tight end position, a 31% target share is absolutely nothing to scoff at. So he's going to overtake Brock Bowers for me here as my tight end one this week, mainly just because although Brock Bowers says his knee is good, I'm a little bit more sure in the fact that McBride came out healthy. We'll knock on wood there. So we'll keep that rolling. We're moving down to Brock Bowers, who before he got hurt, I think it was later in the fourth quarter, we're talking about 8 targets, 5 receptions, 103 yards, and a 24% target share. Guys, these are elite numbers, right? There's a reason they're in the first tier. There is a reason these guys should stay here. And as long as Brock Bowers is healthy, I'm going to play him all year long. Um, as far as competition for that goes, you have Jacoby Myers, who had 10 targets, 8 receptions for 97 yards. So the yardage total just slightly behind Brock Bowers. The targets he obviously had more. I think that would not be the case had Brock finished out the game. But there's obviously this more pass heavy thought process in the Raiders organization this year, maybe more so than we thought with Geno at the helm. So let's keep an eye out on the trends, just kind of see how that goes throughout the year. But I expect both McBride and Bowers to be in my tier one as we go throughout the year here. Next, we're going to have tier two. So here in tier two, I have 3 guys, and I really think this could be huge for this week. We have Sam Laporta, Tyler Warren, and Travis Kelsey. Let's pop my camera back up on screen here. Let's talk about them, right? So you've got Sam Laporta. He had 9 targets, 6 receptions, and 79 yards in a Lions offense that didn't look great against the Packers. Now, you've got people wondering, is that because Ben Johnson left and went to Chicago? Is it because the Packers defense is just that good? Really and truthfully, we're going to have to see. But he did boast a 23, almost 24% target share, very similar to Brock Bowers. Like I said before, that's elite usage. So you continue to play Sam Laporta. He's in the red zone. He's their threat, down there in the goal line. So obviously, they have their backs, but if you're looking to go through the air, it's Sam Laporta there. So continue to play him with confidence. And my next tight end, you guys can kind of see the hat here. I actually got to watch in person this week. Is Tyler Warren. The rookie for the Colts looks phenomenal, guys. So he had 8 targets, 5 receptions, 76 yards. And you remember, I know we keep saying elite target share. Guys, he also had a 31% target share. I'm not willing to put him up there with Trey McBride and Brock Bowers yet, but if he continues to get that usage, he is going to be up there very soon for me. And so not only did he have the targets, he also had a carry out of the backfield. Imagine if we go down later in the year and Steichen starts to use Tyler Warren in wildcat formations or just in carry situations on the goal line. We're talking about a whole different ball game of being able to score touchdowns both through the air and on the ground. So I think Tyler Warren is a must start this week. If he is on your waivers, which I highly doubt he is because he was a highly sought after rookie, I would be going after him. I would be dumping Fab to get him and just keep an eye out on Tyler Warren because if this Colts offense does anything, they always look at tight ends, and obviously he's the new star in town. And then last but not least, I know it didn't turn out as good last week as maybe we expected, but it's Travis Kelsey. Now, before we get all riled up and say, okay, well, Kelsey didn't look great last week. No, he didn't. He had 4 targets, 2 receptions. He did have that one touchdown, the 40-some yard touchdown, I think. He ended up with 47 yards. So it was close to there. But really and truthfully, guys, Hollywood Brown sustained 16 targets last week. That's what he ended up with. Xavier Worthy is still out. Rashee Rice is still suspended. I don't really believe in Juju. Maybe Tyquan Thornton can kind of come in and do something here. But I think we're going to go back to the old ways in Kansas City. And I really, truthfully think that Kelsey's going to be a big focal point of the offense this week. They're playing the Eagles. They're going to have to score points. And I think Kelsey will have to either have a big game or the Chiefs are going to be kind of left in the dust like they were in the Super Bowl, right? So for me, obviously, that kind of rounds out my second tier there. And so let's take a look back at the tier 3 here, and we'll pop back into it. So as you can see here, my tier 3 is quite extensive in terms of the list of names here. You've got Tucker Kraft, Kyle Pitts, Jake Ferguson, Njoku, TJ Hawkinson, Evan Ingram, and Chig Okonkwo from the Titans. So if we're talking about these guys, right, the one name that stands out above all to me, I can even say 2 if we really want to go there. Um, First off, Tucker Kraft, right? Green Bay Packers, their offense was humming, right? They demolished the Lions. They looked great. The one issue that I have, obviously, Tucker Kraft did score the touchdown for the Packers this week. The issue is going to be, do they even need to throw the ball? I'm pretty sure Jordan Love threw the ball like a total of 18 or somewhere in the low 20 times. He might have had 18 completions. And so that's going to be the real struggle here. But I think that Tucker Kraft should be a week in and week out starter at this point. I could easily see him being the second receiving option on the Packers and continuing that forward. Yes, they did pay Christian Watson a 1-year, $13 million extension, something like that, but I'm not really concerned about that right now. Jaden Reed had a touchdown this week. It's still a hodgepodge at wide receiver, whether it's Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wicks, you name it, they have a bunch of options they can go with. The one consistent, I think, will be Tucker Kraft, though. So he still remains at the top of my tier 3 here. The 2 other names that I think, just based off of usage, are both Kyle Pitts and Jake Ferguson, right? So obviously, we get the name fatigue of Kyle Pitts here, right? But he had 8 targets, 7 receptions, and 59 yards for a Michael Penix who started, we'll say, his first true NFL game. Yes, he played at the end of last year. I'm kind of throwing that out. I know it's not technically his first game, but I'm willing to give him the pass. So in this new system, like in the same system, he's had all offseason to learn it. They've grown rapport at this point. And then Drake London gets hurt, right? He's got the shoulder injury. Now, I think Drake London's going to try to go. The most recent injury reports are that he is going to go. I haven't missed anything yet. I believe I'm recording this kind of late Wednesday evening. But he's going to go. That kind of puts a damper on things for me, I think, in terms of maybe Kyle Pitts' involvement overall. Like if his target numbers were going to go up. But I think it helps him out because it takes the coverages away from him. Obviously, having Drake London on the field is really massive to his success. I think Michael Penix continues to sling the ball this week. And really and truthfully, I think Jake Ferguson is not far behind. The other guy I mentioned, the tight end in Dallas here, he he was used by Dak quite a bit. His totals aren't the greatest in terms of yardage, and he obviously didn't score a touchdown, but 6 targets, 5 receptions. That means he's being used in the offense, right? So if we go and look, it's at an 18% target share, 77% snap share. So those guys are used, very often. They're going to be in the game. These are guys, once we get down to this third tier, you're kind of banking on a touchdown. You're willing to start them week in and week out. You're just looking kind of at a floor play here, right? So then I kind of broke, getting down to the bottom of this tier here. I do have David Njoku, TJ Hawkinson, and then Evan Ingram also kind of in their own little mini bunch here. Those are the veterans that didn't really produce a whole lot week one. Obviously, Njoku, yes, he did have some production, but he had to compete with Harold Fannin Jr., who ended up having 9 targets as a rookie in week one. We're going to have to see how that usage kind of shakes out. So I'm not willing to move Njoku down or up at this point. I had him a lot higher last week. I've moved him down to tier 3 this week. Still had 6 targets last week. So I'm just trying to figure out a comfortable spot for him to kind of live. I think he gets a little bit more involved. I think Fannin takes a step back or maybe plays a little bit more in like a wide receiver role as that smaller body tight end where Njoku does a little bit more of the blocking, but still takes some of the receiving work as well. So Njoku's there, obviously. TJ Hawkinson didn't do a whole lot on Monday night. Very minimal involvement. He ended up, let's see if I can find his stats real quick here. Da, 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 da. Regardless of where he is on my stat sheet, that I can't seem to find his name. Regardless, he didn't do great, right? He didn't stand out. He's not the TJ Hawkinson that we're used to that pulls in a ton of targets and really stands out in this crowd. But then again, JJ McCarthy didn't really get going till the fourth quarter either. So maybe they continue to get that momentum up. They continue that into this next game. And maybe TJ Hawkinson comes out this week. I believe in the talent of TJ Hawkinson. I obviously believe in the offense of Kevin O'Connell. And JJ McCarthy showed at the very end of the game he can operate it well. So let's keep an eye out for TJ Hawkinson there. And we'll just kind of see how that goes. Now, Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram also had a calf injury. He came out of the game pretty early for the Broncos. Before doing so, you're looking at he had 4 targets for 21 yards, which he finished up with about 11% of a target share, but he only played about 34% of snaps. So really and truthfully, I mean, he only played 26 snaps of offense, guys. So he was involved early. I think that trend would continue had he continued to play in the game. I think he's probably the second target in this offense behind Cortland Sutton, who ended up with the touchdown. I think Evan Ingram is definitely going to be a good play. He's more of a floor play, but just because of one, the calf and the injury risk there, and just being a veteran, I put him down here in tier 3, just so we were tempering expectations. We weren't going to look at him as like some star-studded tight end option this week, right? And then my last one in the group, you're like, why is this guy even here? It's Chig Okonkwo from the Titans. I just wanted to bring his name up. The reason I say that is because I think I had him as a streamer last week. If not, he was at the very end of tier 3 where he stays this week. He was still the third target on the Titans offense. You had Calvin Ridley, who was first, the rookie and Alec Iomanner in second, and then you had Chig, who came in third there. Now, he had a 16% target share, but that being said, we talked about snap percentages earlier. He was in the game for 88% of snaps. There's a lot of rooms that when you have these tight ends that are kind of monotonous, like it's really clouded in the room and you don't really know where to go. A lot of the times there's playing multiple tight ends, right? But Chig was on the field for 88% of snaps. Yes, I know like 4 targets in week 1 doesn't sound enticing, right? But this is an upside shot. This is the guy that he was still third in the offense as far as target share goes. And I feel like this offense is only going to get better as Cam Ward progresses in his rookie year. I think they're going to end up doing a whole lot better as the year goes on. If I'm not mistaken, we'll look up real quick their matchup this week. We've got the Titans taking on the, let's see here. We've got the Titans taking on the Rams. So yes, that front line, the front seven is kind of scary. I think that will limit the run game a little bit, maybe force them to throw some. And I think they'll have to keep up with the Rams passing attack. So I look for this game, not necessarily to be high scoring, but I think they're going to put a lot of pressure on Cam Ward. And I really think when in those situations you get, your short area targets and your tight ends and your running backs kind of benefit the most from that. So I'm going to keep Chig here in my tier 3, and we're just going to go from there, right? So we've gotten through our first 3 tiers. The way I set those up, those are the top 12 guys, kind of how I break them down. My tier 4 that I'm getting ready to pop up on the screen, you'll see has 4 guys in it. These are like my streamers that I would pick from the week. And then I actually have a bonus one for you guys too. Just somebody to keep an eye on. He did well in week 1, but I want to get I want to see what the trend does before we get there. So let's take a look at tier 4 for my streamers first, and then we'll get into that. So if we go here, you see the tier 4 that I have. We have Brenton Strange, Hunter Henry, Dallas Goddard, and then Dalton Kincaid, right? So if you guys were unaware, Dallas Goddard had a quite the week 1. Excuse me. 7 targets, 7 receptions, 44 yards. That's a very good baseline, right? If you're in full PPR, you're automatically getting 11.4 points right there, right? So that's a great floor to have at the tight end position. You're looking for that, and this is where the streamers come in, right? So you got Dallas Goddard here in the tier. We've also got Brenton Strange in this tier as well. It was a guy that I pointed out last week, somebody who I thought had a great opportunity in this Jags offense. He ended up with 4 catches on 4 targets for 59 yards. So, not necessarily the best fantasy output numbers, but it also goes back to he had a 78.8% snap share and a 14% target share, right? So, he's still being used. He is on the field. Yes, he's behind Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter there for Trevor Lawrence. But I think Brenton Strange will continue to develop as the role goes on, or as the year goes on in his role there. Hunter Henry for the Patriots, right? 93% snap share, 17.8% target share. And you're like, wow, those numbers are kind of surprising. Well, he had 8 targets in week 1, and he caught 4 of those for 66 yards. It's a young quarterback, like we said before. If you have any kind of complex defenses or rookies that get kind of frazzled, or just young quarterbacks in general, they look at their tight ends and their short yard guys, primarily running backs, slot receivers, stuff like that. So I think that's kind of what we saw with Hunter Henry here. I think he will continue to pull in quite a bit of target share here in this Patriots offense. I spoke about how I went and watched the Colts play last week, and they played the Dolphins. And guess what? That Dolphins defense did not look good, guys. And guess who the Patriots play this week? That's right, the Miami Dolphins. So for me, I'm going to continue. I would take a shot on Hunter Henry if you're really streaming off the waiver wire. I think that's somebody that could be available for you as someone to target there. My last tight end that I have in my tier 4 here is Dalton Kincaid of the Buffalo Bills. So obviously in that phenomenal matchup that we got Sunday night, we got to watch the Ravens and the Bills kind of duke it out. Dalton Kincaid had 4 catches on 4 targets for 48 yards and a touchdown. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen every week because I feel like Josh Allen spreads the ball out quite a bit. But it's a trend that I want to kind of monitor, correct? So we want to get to the point where we're keeping an eye on these guys down here in the streamer tier to see if they can be elevated up any further. But as of right now, I've seen it obviously for week one, he scored the touchdown. That's what we're looking at this point. And he was kind of highly touted. He hasn't really shown much in the dynasty landscape for a few years, but maybe he's starting to turn around and kind of get some grip in this offense here. And so I promised you guys one more option, right? That was all of my rankings this year, or this week. You saw that I had some more names on there. I had Zach Ertz, Mark Andrews, guys like that didn't really have a tier. Those are guys I'm not super interested in starting this week, right? But my one bonus guy that I want to bring up is Jawan Johnson. So Jawan Johnson is actually very interesting. He had 11 targets for the Saints in week one. Now, the reason that I only have him as a bonus and he's not in the streamers or he's not higher up with 11 targets for and 8 receptions for 76 yards, right? Is because look at the offense. Okay, we've got Olave, who is the number one, obviously. Now, last year, Rashid Shaheed and Derek Carr kind of had their thing going, and Shaheed was the two, and Jawan Johnson kind of fell by the wayside. Think he got a little bit more work later on in the year. But for me, yes, Jawan Johnson had a great week one, but Jawan Johnson's never really been that guy, right? And he's been on the Saints offense for years. So, yes, he had a good week one, but I'm not ready to just fully crown him as being the number two option on this team. And obviously, we have Alvin Kamara too, right? He's an elite fantasy running back still at the age of 30, I believe, 29, 30, somewhere around there. So they're kind of competing for targets. And I just want to see what the game script looks like, right? For the Saints. They played the Cardinals last week. So I really just want to fill that out a little bit more. Now, obviously, if Jawan Johnson continues to do well this year, then we are this week, then we can go back and he'll move up, obviously, in the rankings. But I just kind of wanted to keep an eye on it first. But it was a name that I was monitoring. Just wanted you guys to know I didn't forget about it. So that's my rankings and streamers for week two. Did I miss anybody? Who are you guys looking at on your waivers? Who's still out there that you're like, dude, why did you not bring up this guy? Why did you not bring up Jonnu Smith, or anybody like that? So let me know who I missed below. Obviously, like, comment, subscribe. Join us throughout the week. We have live streams that go. We have several recorded options. We've got defense, kickers, running backs, all the positions. We've got those ranked for you. And, especially checking out the defense and the kickers, like I said, those are two kind of positions that people tend to forget about. But if you hit on a good matchup in those weeks, those are two great videos to check out for you guys. Well, I'm glad you joined me. I hope to see you again next week. And other than that, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Peace out.